This is EnRich Your Life, a podcast about financial health, all things investing, life planning, and smart decisions with Richard Leimgruber.
Hello and welcome to another episode of EnRich Your Life podcast. I'm your host, Rich Leimgruber, and I have over 27 years of experience helping clients grow their money, save their money, protect their money, and make sure that what they're doing today is also going to be in line with what their goals are for their future. I help families, individuals, and small business owners not only plan for their future, protect it, but also help them enjoy their wealth with clarity and purpose. Today, we're going to be speaking about a topic that almost everybody has heard of, but not maybe everybody understands to the full extent of it. That's Medicaid. Most people think of Medicaid as only being for people with no money or people who need long-term care until a $12,000 a month bill comes in and suddenly everything changes. So you've spent a life building your wealth, but what is the biggest risk that you have in your financial wealth as you age? It's long-term care. I've spent decades helping people not only prepare for their retirement, help them save, help them invest, and grow their nest egg, but very few people take the time to actually plan for health needs in the future. And so today we're going to unpack what happens when your health starts declining as you get older. And we're going to be speaking with somebody who's an excellent resource for not only you, but for all clients out there. I'm joined by Lori Bernabe, a Medicaid Service Coordinator who's associated with the Feller Group, located in Mahopac and Katona, New York. The Feller Group is an estate planning and elder care law firm, empowering your decisions while safeguarding your assets. They offer personalized legal service to families throughout New York State, committed to crafting customized plans tailored to your unique needs, whether safeguarding assets, establishing trusts, or even preparing for long-term care. Lori has joined the firm with over 20 years of experience in the nursing home and community Medicaid as a Medicaid service facilitator. Welcome, Lori. It's very nice to have you here and join us today to talk about this really important thing. So I know you're very passionate about your career. I talk to you all the time about it. Can you tell us a little bit about what got you to where you are today? What made you get into being a Medicaid coordinator?
So I believe that everybody should be able to receive the care that they need. And as you said, nursing homes are very expensive. You mentioned $12,000. In this day and age in New York State, a nursing home stay is approximately $16,000 to $18,000 a month. I've had many people come to me and say, I don't qualify for Medicaid, and that's not true. You just have to know how to go about applying for the insurance.
Yeah, I mean, for 27 years, all I've heard from clients who have a lot of money is, well, I'm not going to get Medicaid, so I have to plan on the other side, which is, getting like a long-term care policy or something.
Absolutely.
So what you're saying is that might not necessarily be true.
Correct. And in New York State, they used to have a long-term care insurance policy that they stopped carrying.
The partnership policy.
Yes. And I had a few clients that had that. It was an amazing insurance, but they don't offer it anymore. They stopped a couple of years ago.
Don't understand why.
I don't either. It
was actually also a cheaper premium, believe it or not, and it was tied to. So as long as you had that partnership plan and you had the insurance for, I think it was 3 years was the desired amount of years. Everything else, you wouldn't have to move anything out of your name. It would be covered. You would have Medicaid to take over afterwards without having to get rid of anything.
That is correct. The money just stays in your name.
Yeah. So let's start off by breaking down some of the common, I guess, definitions and misconceptions about Medicaid, right? So when we hear people talk about Medicaid, what do they usually get wrong about Medicaid?
So people think that they make too much money to get Medicaid. And Medicaid has a qualification for a single person or somebody that's married, but we're not going to count the spouse's income. It's called a spousal refusal. They're allowed to make $1,800 a month in this year in 2026.
Is that earned income or is that residual income or is any
unearned income, Social Security,
income.
pensions, required minimum distributions from an IRA, because an IRA is not considered an asset when you're applying for Medicaid.
Okay.
So it could
the
be
income would be considered income.
The income is they have to take a required distribution. And it is a little bit more than what the IRS says you can take. So New York State has their own life expectancy plan, and that's what we calculate that required distribution on. So I've had many people come to me and say, no, I make too much money, I'm not eligible for Medicaid. Or they've been told, but there's a spend down program, and they can either give the money to Medicaid, which I don't encourage,
No.
Anything over $1,800, or we can do what's called a pooled trust. And the pooled trust is a program that a Medicaid recipient over 65 years old, disabled, or blind can use that program. The money is deducted from their bank account, and then it's given back to them either in the form of paying bills in their names or putting it on a debit card, and then they can use that debit card to go buy anything in their name. A couple things they're not allowed to buy, and I always chuckle about this. So you can't buy alcohol, firearms, and you cannot gamble with that money. So it usually gets a chuckle. That is for community Medicaid. With nursing home Medicaid, that's not an option, this pool trust, because all of your income less $50 goes to the nursing home when you're on nursing home Medicaid.
So community versus home health care, is that home health care community?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so when you're talking about it, you're staying at home, somebody comes and gives you some services,
Yes.
and for that you can have that pooled trust. But
Correct.
if your situation gets worse and you need to have a facility to help you live the rest of your life, that's where that changes.
That's where it changes. And then
Right.
all your income, if you're married, your spouse can receive some of that money to bring them up to a level where they can maintain their home in the community. And then whatever's left over after $50 will go to the nursing home.
Okay.
But it's a calculation that we have to do for you.
Who actually ends up needing Medicaid?
People work very hard for their money, and they want to leave a livelihood to their families or to their children, or they want to protect their money. And if you do not apply for Medicaid, you're spending $15,000 to $18,000 a month towards nursing home care, and that's just for room and board. You're not getting any other incidentals at the nursing home. Everything is private pay. With Medicaid, you're saving your money, you're applying for Medicaid, you're protecting your assets, and you're able to live in your home as well.
Right.
Instead of having to sell your home.
You know, I think what you were trying to say is that anybody can use it.
Yes.
As long as you basically prepare to apply for
Long-term
it, right?
planning.
Yeah.
And Medicaid is different now. Years ago, everybody would apply for Medicaid through the county, your local district.
Okay.
Now it's the New York State of Health. You can apply for Medicaid through the New York State of Health between 19 years of age and 65 years of age.
Okay.
Over 65 is where you would require long-term care. If you're disabled and under 65, that would go through the county as well. If you're blind and under 65 years old, that would go through the county as well. So it's disabled, aged, and blind is the program you would get a long-term care, home care in your home.
Got it. So that's you had said originally that if you were under 65 and you qualified for Medicaid, which is the disabled, the blind, or the poverty-stricken, right? You get Marketplace. Right?
Right.
The New York State Marketplace, you would go out and you would be able to get a plan that would be covered under Medicaid.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
If you're over 65, you get Medicare, which everybody knows, right? We've talked about Medicare several times on this podcast. But if you're over 65 and need long-term care, that's where Medicaid comes back in.
Right. If you're over 65 and need long-term care, you need to be, again, over 65, disabled, or blind in order to get the home care this way. Otherwise, you would be applying for Medicaid through the Marketplace.
Okay, got it. So, you and I just sitting here talking about this, we're talking about it and we're like, yeah, this is how it works. It seems like it's so disconnected with how easy this should be. Why is that?
It's because it's a misconception that not everybody is eligible for Medicaid.
Got it.
And the DSS, the Department of Social Service offices, they are notorious for telling people you make too much money. But they're not explaining the pool trust. 12 years ago when I started...
They don't want to explain the
pool
trust.
No,
they want to
because it doesn't benefit New York State.
Yeah.
And approximately 12 years ago, I want to say, somewhere around 12 or 14 years ago, when I started working with the Managed Long-Term Care Program, I actually went to one of the local Department of Social Service offices and explained the pool trust to them. They had no idea. No idea. So, but I'm sure they're not learning about it because it doesn't help New York State.
So that leads me to my next question is like, where do people fall through the cracks? Some people might say it's already too late. I'm already starting to pay for my parents' care, right? Or what have you. is it too late, ever too late to kind of help your parents try to, or even yourself if you're now 65, to apply for Medicaid? Or, because there is a 5-year look back period on certain things.
For nursing home Medicaid. So
Okay.
you should always have that conversation. Like
Right.
the office that I work for, we do free consultations. Always have that conversation. Find out what you need to move forward. If you're going into a nursing home and you own a house, there's something that's called a promissory note that can be done if there's not a spouse in the community. So an attorney can help you with that. If
And what would that do if an attorney looked at it and everything lined up? My understanding is that you don't have to sell your primary residence, correct?
No. Well, if you're the only person on the deed for that house and you're going into a nursing home, then yes, you would need to sell that. But you can protect some of it because you can do a promissory note. But then there's also another curve, I guess. If you have a disabled adult child or a disabled minor child, they're entitled to that house. And you don't have to sell that house.
Okay.
Another thing is if you're receiving home care for several years and you have a child that's living in the house with you, could be an adult, caregiver for you. That child is their permanent address, their permanent residence is the house that they've been living in with you. You go into a nursing home, that child, it's called Child Caregiver Credit.
Okay.
They get to keep the house.
Wow.
Because they can prove that they've lived in that property, whether it's with tax documentation, income taxes, but somehow they can prove that they've lived in that address and that house is protected and they're able. I've had several clients.
How long does that need to happen, like to be living in that house for it to be approved?
I would say about 2 years.
2 years?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
There's no definite.
So something similar
but
to like, getting state tuition at a college in a different state. The child has to live there for so long
right.
to get it approved, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's very interesting. So somebody might, turn 65, fall, break a hip. Now they're going to therapy, right? They're getting physical therapy done, and it's 100 days.
Mm-hmm.
So Medicare covers the first 100 days. It flips over to Medicaid now, right? Mm-hmm. So after day 100, you're on your own, and you have to apply for Medicaid, correct?
So I want to kind of cut in there real quick because Medicare covers, you're eligible for 100 days. Medicare covers days 1 through 20 in full. Days 21 through 100 are covered under Medicare, but there's a coinsurance amount that's due every day. It's approximately $210.
Oh.
So the person in the rehab is responsible for that $200 and some odd dollars every day. Now, whether they have a secondary insurance that might be covering it,
Mm-hmm.
if they don't, then they have to apply for Medicaid.
Right.
And community Medicaid is not going to pay for that. So they need to apply for nursing home Medicaid.
Got it.
Now, also, when you apply for, not so much with community home care Medicaid, but with nursing home Medicaid, you may need Medicaid to start paying your bill in January. You've been in the nursing home since January, you're incurring a bill. Medicare stopped paying, or they're only paying a certain amount, you're incurring a bill. You can submit that Medicaid application. Medicaid application can be submitted for the nursing home, and it'll retro for 3 months prior.
Got it. That's
So
really good.
where people think that they are out of luck, have that conversation with an attorney or a Medicaid consultant, because you'd be surprised what you're eligible for.
Yeah. And that brings me to my next question, which is eligibility, right? So there's income eligibility, there's asset eligibility. And the question I was asking is, there's financial limitations, eligibility rules for getting, I guess, Medicaid to approve a long-term care, kind of a claim. So what actually counts as income when they're looking at everything that you have?
So your income is considered any kind of dividends that you're receiving from stocks, annuities, bonds, anything. You're going to count your Social Security income. If you're
Any
working,
other pension income, W-2
required
income.
distributions from your IRAs, that's going to be counted as income as well. Dividends count as income.
If somebody's applying and they're married,
Mm-hmm.
is it both spouses' incomes, or is it one in particular?
So what you can do with a spouse, if you have quite a bit of income or assets, resources, and you're married, you want to do a spousal refusal.
Yeah.
So that means the spouse, whether you're doing community Medicaid or nursing home Medicaid, you want to do a spousal refusal because you can transfer your resources to your spouse with no penalty. In my head, I know Medicaid does not allow gifting, but you can gift to your spouse.
Yeah.
You can transfer to your spouse with no penalties.
So basically any income, including dividends, W-2 income, business income, I'm assuming, right? So what about assets? Somebody has a ton of assets outside, and you mentioned before about IRA or retirement assets. Can we break that down as far as what they look at?
Sure. So IRAs and 401ks are not counted as an asset with Medicaid. As long as you're taking a distribution from it, it could be millions of dollars. They don't care.
What if somebody's filling out this Medicaid application on their own and it says list your qualifying assets and they put their IRA assets? Will Medicaid automatically assume that's eligible assets to be used, or will they say, no, this is a retirement account, you shouldn't put this on the application?
They should tell you there is a spot to put it on the application, but you're also going to provide all your documentation along
statements
with the Medicaid application.
Gotcha.
And the Medicaid caseworker should look at it and say, okay, this is a qualified or this is a non-qualified account.
All right. So I'm sorry, you were going through non-qualified assets you have to basically spend down, right?
Yes, or transfer to somebody. So if you're in the community, you can transfer it.
Okay.
If you're going into a nursing home, that's where a promissory note would come into place.
Yeah. Or there's a 5-year look back.
There is a 5-year look back in the nursing home. Okay. In the nursing home Medicaid, there's a 5-year look back. So if you're coming to me with, $500,000, or we have to figure out what to do with that $500,000. So
right.
if it's an IRA, it's fine.
Yeah.
If it's a non-qualified account, that's where a promissory note's going to come into place, and you're going to gift that money to somebody. 40% of that, approximately 40%, will go to the nursing home to pay the nursing home fees while you're there. And there's a formula that they calculate, and then 60% you can give that to somebody.
Wow.
And then once that promissory note is paid off, that 60% is theirs free and clear.
Got it.
Can't go back into your name.
Can that be anybody's? Spouse, children, best friend?
You wouldn't have to do a promissory note for a spouse, but yes, anybody else
true.
you would.
What's the total amount that they can keep in their assets before Medicaid would start paying?
So for a single individual, it's $33,000. For 2026, approximately $33,000.
Gotcha. Okay. And that doubles for married couples?
No, it actually, a lot of people think that, but when you're married and you're both applying for Medicaid, it's approximately $42,000.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
So it's almost like a being married penalty kind of
Yes.
thing. Holy cow. Sometimes I hear about someone's actions and they always talk about, well, if I only knew beforehand, right? If I only knew that this pooled trust was available, I might have done something differently, right?
Right.
Oftentimes, we talk about the fact that there's an emotional decision that's made. I don't want to put mom in a nursing home. It's she's taken care of me my whole life, and vice versa. But there's also financial, right? Financial obligations that you have. So, when people go to apply and they don't use somebody like you or your law firm or an attorney, what do you think is the biggest mistake that people might make when they're applying?
So what I've come across is people are paying that spend down amount, that income. So now it's $1,800 that you're allowed to keep, and say your income is approximately $4,000. You're paying the difference of the $4,000 and $1,800 to Medicaid so that you can get services.
Okay.
And that's throwing the money away.
Right.
Whereas if you put it into a pool trust, the pool trust is going to keep a percentage, usually between 10 and 15%. And then the rest of that money, the pool trust will either write a check to your utility companies, your mortgage, your, anything that's in your name, landscaping. Or again, you could put it on the debit card. And then you can be in control. And that's a lot of pool trusts came into using this debit card program because many of our seniors were saying, I've been paying my bills my entire life. Why do I have to have somebody else pay my bills? Right. So it still gives them that sense of paying their own bills because that money is there. They just can't use that card to go to the ATM machine and take money out.
Okay.
So the money doesn't go back to them, but they can use it for many, many things that are in their name.
And that pool trust is only for non-qualified assets, not retirement assets.
It's for income. Pool trust is for income.
So you're getting an income from all these different areas. If you were to deposit that income into that pooled trust, the pooled trust takes that money and it allows you to pay your bills with that money.
Yes.
And still qualify for Medicaid.
Right.
That you said they probably 15% get kept by the trust. Who gets that? Is that the attorney's office, or is
No,
that whoever you
the
just...
pool trust, whichever pool trust you choose to use, that's how they make their money. They're non-for-profits.
Gotcha.
And the
Okay.
only other downside of this is I tell people, if you don't use that money in 1 month, it is going to roll over, but don't use it as a savings account, because when you do pass away, it's irrevocable. It gets
Gotcha.
donated to a charity.
Yeah. Oh, so that's actually cool, because then it goes into something that maybe do you get to pick the charity of choice, or it's
No,
up to the pool trust?
It's up to the pool
okay.
trust, but you can research your pool trust to see which charities they're going to deposit or give that
Yeah.
money to.
Wow, that's great. And that would be something that you can help somebody with?
Absolutely. Think of an elderly person that all of a sudden has to make this decision. There's so much information out there.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so important. And I talk about Medicaid all the time. I want to get a shirt on my the fellow group and say, ask me about Medicaid. Because I want to share my information.
Yeah.
It's important for people to know that they don't have to go through all of their life savings and they can still get the care that they need.
What I'm going to say might be a little controversial, but I think that's almost like laziness, right? I'm just going to, I don't care. I'm just going to pay Medicaid what they told me to pay, and I'm not going to look into it. It's just too much of a hassle, right?
Right.
And that's where I get I'm like, no, you're going to give the government more of your money if you don't need to. There's strategies out there to just help you save that money.
Exactly. Or if somebody, like social services, if they come and say, you make too much money, you're not eligible.
Yeah, right.
There are ways to make you eligible for Medicaid. And it's legal. It's all legal ways
Right.
to make you
eligible. Of course,
eligible.
we wouldn't be talking about it if it wasn't legal. Well, and that's the other point, right? So someone might say, oh, you know what? My mom wants to go to this nursing home. They do it for free, right?
Yes.
What's the difference between having them do your Medicaid application and somebody like you doing it?
Great question.
Yeah.
Yes. They do not have your best interest in mind. They
Why is
just
that?
want their money.
Nice.
They don't care if you're married and you have a spouse in the community. They don't care if you have a child living in your home that's been taking care of you for 2+ years and is entitled to your house. None of that matters to them. They just want their money.
Got it. Okay. So are there any other strategies that somebody can use as far as protecting their assets? I know we said there's a 5-year look back, and I think that 5-year look back would be put it in an irrevocable trust?
Exactly. An irrevocable trust.
5 years before you knew that your mom or dad might be going into a nursing home. Right.
Correct.
Which nobody ever plans
No,
for.
but any time is a good time to start.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Fund the irrevocable trust, because I can tell you I've had people open up an irrevocable trust and not fund it.
Okay. Is it
lost the
5
money.
years from the date of its deposit into that trust?
Yes.
Or okay. So it's not so much that you actually executed the trust, you have to actually fund it as well.
Correct.
Well, that's interesting.
And
Okay.
every time you add money to that new amount of money that you're adding to that trust starts the calendar for that deposit only.
Uh-huh.
So the money that's been in the trust for 5 years is not affected, or 4 years or 3 years, but each deposit that you make into that trust starts the clock over again.
Got it. Okay, that's interesting. So, but besides the pool trust and the irrevocable trust 5 years before you knew your mom or dad would go to the nursing home, are there any more strategies that somebody can use?
There's other things you can do. You can prepay your burial.
Okay.
Do an irrevocable prepaid burial. Spend down the money.
Okay, yep. Spending down is the other one. That's what I was looking for.
Yes. Yeah.
Spend down. Who wants to spend down their money, though, right?
But you know what? If it's for your benefit, I've had clients that have had cars and they need to get rid of that money. They don't have an option. There's nobody that they can give the money to, so they paid off their car.
Right.
So there are things
you
that
can
you
do stuff
can
like
do,
that, right.
and suggestions that can be given to you so that you can spend that money down.
Yeah. You know, everybody thinks they're an expert, right? And like, oh, my best friend told me that I should be doing this. And sometimes I get a client that calls up and says, oh, I'm just going to transfer the money out of my mom's name and put it in my account. And then it's no longer there.
No.
What's the danger of doing that? And I just think that, they're going to look at it. If you're applying for Medicaid, don't they look at the person who's applying their bank accounts to see if there's any transfers out of that bank account?
They do. So
They
for
do.
5 years, if you're looking at Medicaid, for community Medicaid, it's a 1 to 3 month look back
Okay.
period.
Yeah.
Eventually, it's going to go to 30 months. They were supposed to do this prior to COVID, and every year they extend it. So it hasn't happened yet, but it's going to happen. But for nursing home Medicaid, if you transfer money or give money to a child for college, or transfer money to a child, help them buy a house or anything, all of that's going to come back. And that money, you're going to be penalized on Medicaid. So you're going to have a penalty period. So if you're going to give your child money to make yourself eligible for Medicaid or something of that nature, do not spend that money for 5 years.
Yeah.
Because you may have to use that money to pay Medicaid or to pay the nursing home bill, because there is going to be a penalty period.
So let's go down that rabbit hole. Somebody says, I moved all of mom's money out of her checking. I left $33,000 in there so that she can have. I went out and I bought a second house. It's our vacation home. We've been going down there for 2 years. If she applied for Medicaid, mom, and they said, hey, we noticed you moved $500,000 out, and they bought, oh, we don't have that money anymore. What happens to mom? Do they just not approve it? And now you got to come up with the cash? You'd have to turn around and sell it?
Correct. They do not approve Medicaid, and you're paying privately if she goes into a nursing home.
Yeah. I mean, would mom no longer be eligible to get into that nursing home because you have no way of paying now,
That's
right?
Well,
because mom's got $33,000 left.
Right.
There's no money in her name. Medicaid said no. So now you, as that child who just moved that money, bought a house, is going to have to go down and sell that house and get that money back.
Or bring mom home and take care of her, which is going to be very hard, especially if they're battling some kind of an illness that makes it very difficult to be their caregiver as well.
Yeah. So, we've talked a lot, and there's a lot of information. So this is more about, hey, I want my, viewers to know there's options and there's people out there to talk to, right?
Absolutely.
So give me an example of why you might tell somebody not to try and do this Medicare application on their own. Why reach out to someone like you?
Because there are many ways, many steps that you can take to get approved for Medicaid. I'd be concerned that if somebody has money, they've worked all their life, they've done investments, they've done everything they needed to preserve their money and the plan. When I retire, I'm going to travel. So you have a substantial money saved. If you apply for Medicaid on your own without protecting that money, you're not going to get approved. So that's why I say always have that conversation. And I tell my clients when they come to me, I'm asking you questions. You need to trust me and tell me what you did with money. This conversation is between us.
Right.
It doesn't go to the IRS. It doesn't go to New York State. It's between us, so I can help you better to get this application approved. And
set your expectations, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which helps us all make better decisions.
Yes.
Right. I think that's the biggest thing that I try to do for my clients is give them, and I always try to help people make decisions based upon knowing what their likely outcome is going to be. That's setting expectations, right? And making sure that, hey, if you go down this road, this is what potentially is going to happen. Do you want that to happen? Well, listen, I think ultimately, everybody who's getting older and who's going to eventually need long-term care should be actually planning for Medicaid, right?
Absolutely.
And knowing that there are ways that you don't have to spend down your own money, that there are ways that somebody can help you. Even if you think all is lost, get a professional opinion.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
Exactly. And there are elder care attorneys. My elder care attorney that I work for, we do webinars. You can come in, you can watch the webinar, you can actually do an in-person seminar. Protect your money.
Right.
Go in and have that conversation, watch that webinar, see what you can do to protect your money.
Sure.
And you're never too young to do this.
I really appreciate your time today. I know this was short and there was so much we could have talked about. Can you just tell us if somebody wanted to reach out to you, how they can reach out to you?
Sure. So I work for the Feller Group. We're an elder care attorney, as you said, in Mayapack and Katona. You can call the office. It's 845-621-8640. Or you can also email me at lbernabe. So it's LBERNABE at thefellergroup.com.
So thank you so much. This was great.
Thank you.
I think everybody should be calling somebody like you, if not you personally, right? And for anybody, our listeners who has any questions, if you missed Lori's information, you can always email us at hello@enrichlifepodcast.com or check out the show notes as well. We'll list Lori's information for you there. And just remember, even if somebody might tell you that something is impossible, it's always a possibility if you have the right people who know the right information for you. And anybody who has an elder person who's struggling with Medicaid, please share this podcast with them. Tell them that this is just the beginning. It's initial information. And hopefully we can grow our audience even further than what we have today. Thank you so much for joining us today. Take care.